Now, Imam Bukhari, rahimahullah ta'ala, when was he born? He was born on the day of Jum'ah. In fact, right after Jum'ah. It was a Friday, and it was the 13th of Shawwal in the year 194 after Hijrah. The 13th of Shawwal, 194 after Hijrah. As soon as they finished Salat al-Jum'ah, the news of the birth of Imam Al Bukhari, rahimahullah ta'ala, came. And they named him Muhammad. And you know, that's not just because back then everyone in Central Asia was named Muhammad, right? That's not why. They named, you know, Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said, when you name your children, have an intention. What's going to make your children great, because there is something in a name. What's going to make it special is the intention that you have when you name your child. Not because it just rhymes well, or you found it in the Quran, or you know, it sounds Arabic and you found it on some awesome website or something like that. You name your child with something that you want them to be. So they named him Muhammad with the intention that he would love the Prophet ﷺ and that he would be like the Prophet ﷺ. So his mother actually chose that name for him, and it was something very special. And because the Prophet ﷺ said that the most beloved names to Allah are Abdullah and Abdurrahman, they gave him a kunya at birth, meaning they called him Abu Abdullah, the father of Abdullah, at birth, so that they could combine the ahadith. They wanted him to be like the Prophet ﷺ and love the Prophet ﷺ, but they also wanted to include somehow the name Abdullah in there because it's so praised by the Prophet ﷺ. So even though Imam Al Bukhari, we don't know of any children that he ever had. We have, it seems like he never, had children. He never got married. Allahu alam, right? But still, from very early on, he was Muhammad Abu Abdullah. All right. Now, Imam Bukhari, rahimahullah, because he was born in the year 194 after Hijrah, he's included in the third of the best generations. The Prophet ﷺ said that the best of my ummah is qarni, is my generation, ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ, and then those that come after them, and then those that come after them. So Imam Al Bukhari, rahimahullah, he's included in the last of the best generations. That generation, according to most of the scholars, ends in the year 220. Okay, it ends in the year 220. That's when the Tabi'een had departed, the second generation, so obviously there's no room anymore to be of that generation. So Al-Bukhari was born in that generation, so he has that distinction as well, just by virtue of being born there. Now his father passed away either before he was born or right when he was born. I mean, he really doesn't have any recollection of his father, doesn't know him. He died when he was very, very, very young. To make matters worse, Al-Imam Al-Bukhari, rahimahullah, when he was born, he had very weak eyesight, but then he went completely blind when he was just an infant. So he was just, a baby, and he lost his eyesight completely. And subhanAllah, just imagine, here you have a boy that's blind, and he's the son of a widow, and he's in Bukhara, which is not a city where, Islam is really known to be a place that produces scholarship and so on and so forth. And this boy is going to come out and be one of the most influential people in history. And there's a very special wisdom to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowing that to happen. And the ulama, obviously Allah Azza wa Jal, He tells us in the Quran, لا تعمل أبصار, that the eyes are not that which go blind, but instead it's the hearts and the chests that go blind. So he might be blind here, but he wasn't blind in the heart. But what are some of the wisdoms here that the ulama mention? One of them, Al-Bukhari had an older brother. He had an older brother that was fine. So when he went blind, his mother gained a lot of sympathy for him, and his mother used to spend her entire nights making dua for him. So they said the dua of the mother, which is such a powerful medium for goodness and barakah in your life and blessing in your life. And Imam Al Bukhari had that because his mother had a particular love and attachment to him, him being the one that needed that attention in the house. And she used to constantly make dua for him. Another one, which subhanAllah, we often try to discount our scholars and our historians, our classical ones, and say they didn't know what they were talking about and they were uneducated in science and so forth. And Imam Al-Dhahabi rahimahullah, he says because being blind increases a person's memory. And I want you to just go on Google and search all the scientific studies that have been done about the memory of people that are blind. So subhanAllah, I just found the current biology journal, which is in 2007. It was the first search that came up. And this is what they said. They said scientists tested 19 blind and 19 people with eyesight in 2 memory tasks. So in the first one, the volunteers heard a list of 20 words and they had to remember them. In the second one, they had to remember not just the words, but they had to remember the order in the list as well. And the blind volunteers recalled 20 to 35% more words than those who can see, which indicated a better memory overall. But their greatest advantage was their ability to remember roughly twice as many words in sequence. Because when you're blind, your memory has to be enforced. So Imam Al-Dhahabi rahimahullah says one of the wisdoms of Al Bukhari being blind is that when he was a child and his mother was teaching him things, he had to use his memory, the function of his memory to remember certain things. Where's the door? Where's this? Where's that? And that would affect him later on with his memory. It would have an impact on him, later on in his life. Now, obviously, Imam Al Bukhari doesn't spend his entire life blind. And the mother of Imam Al Bukhari rahimahullah used to make dua for him, and she used to make dua for him profusely. Asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to restore his eyesight. Then a miracle from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala happens. And keep in mind here, Al Bukhari was not blind for just a month or two. Al Bukhari was blind for a significant amount of time. It could have been 2 or 3 years that he was blind. His mother never gave up hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She continued to make dua. And one night as she's sleeping, she sees Ibrahim alayhi salam. And Ibrahim alayhi salam comes to her and says to her, Ya hadihi, O so-and-so, Inna Allah yubashiruki, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you the glad tidings, Annahu qad radda basara waladik, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has restored the eyesight of your child, li kathrati du'aik. And actually says to her, Ibrahim says to her, because of your dua. Ibrahim alayhi salam says to her, Allah has restored the sight of your child because of your dua. She wakes up, she goes to Imam Al Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala, and as she wakes him up, he opens his eyes and he's looking around, clearly seeing, confused, how is it that he can see and what's going on here? Right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered that dua. And this is significant because we owe the entire legacy of Imam Al Bukhari to his mother, to the dua of a mother, right? That isn't even named in history. His entire legacy, the gift that he was to the ummah and the contributions that he made was all because of the dua of a mother. We owe that gratitude to her. And every time anyone benefits from an Imam al-Bukhari, it's a sadaqah jariyah for her. It's a continuous charity for her because she invested that dua in him and she put that time into him, which shows you, subhanAllah, the contribution that he played.